Good morning once again, and thank you for joining us on the program. A warm welcome. A study by Afrobarometer shows that support for a free media in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda is weakening. And that, according to the research group's new study, there was greater support for government control of media content in these countries. It mentions Tanzania, where President John Magufuli's administration recently required bloggers to get a license to operate.
And in Uganda too, the situation is critical. The hunt for journalists was reinforced with the creation in June 2017 of a brigade of security officers and computer experts. His mission, monitor profiles on Facebook and other social networks to silence critical voices. A few weeks ago, Reporters Without Borders revealed its ranking on press freedom. And of the three countries mentioned by Jerry, Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, it is in Uganda that the press suffers the most attacks. The country is ranked 117th out of 190 countries, just above Afghanistan.
From the African Center for Media Excellence is Grace Natabalo. She joins us now from Kampala, Uganda. Welcome to the program, Grace. Thank you for joining us. Grace, from this report, we understand that there are more people in support of government control over the media in East Africa, and that I want to ask, should they have the right to prevent the media from publishing, talking about the government there, and why do people consider it harmful for the media to be independent?
There is a loss of trust in the media by the public, and maybe people want to see a more responsible media, which is responsive to viewers and readers and listeners. Media makes mistakes all the time, but maybe people don't feel like the media itself is doing enough to reflect and see if what is being published is either harmful or false or just carelessly reported. So maybe that's where it's coming from. And I think people have the right to feel that if the media is not doing enough, they feel like they should have answers from the media, but maybe the media is not also being accountable to the people that they serve. And for Uganda's case, there's been an increase in the number of, for example, websites that are providing news. But when you scroll through most of the news, there's a lot of unconfirmed information, a lot that looks like gossip. Well, they probably don't know who should be helping the media with this. So maybe that's why they think the government should be the one to help, because the government is, well, the government.
Grace, and this surely doesn't bode well for the independence of the media. But do you think findings like this could embolden government to be more repressive? And how worse can it get, considering that the media in East Africa has been hit with cybercrime laws, fines and suspensions and the likes?
There's still a lot of pushback in other countries, and I think government may see the opportunity for it to push more. Of course, they will use it as an argument that the public doesn't even trust you. But, I think it will get worse before it gets better for the media. But I think this is the time for the media to organize and have one voice, which is lacking, at least for Uganda's case. The fight for all these freedoms and the fight against the laws, even making recommendations to government when they come up with all these laws, mostly left to the NGOs, the civil society. And, the media will probably, wake up this time around, because the laws are piling and piling in all countries. And at one point, they'll have to stand up with one voice and a more united front and, off. But, the media also needs a mechanism where it can self-regulate. You can tell the government off, but what are you doing? As a media, what are you doing? Can you self-regulate? Can you advise each other? There is no space for that. There doesn't seem to be a space for that. And maybe, this sort of study might give the government confidence to keep going with the laws that they will come up with in future, and the laws that are already in the books that are already repressive.
One final question, Grace. What's the way out of this? I mean, how can the media in these countries win back the support of the people for a greater independence?
I think the media needs to be more accountable. like I said, report the facts, stay accurate, report on story. Maybe the public feels like for example, the media is overly politicized and maybe some issues are not given enough airtime or enough space in the newspapers. So the media should find out what do people want. I don't think we do enough listening when it comes as the media. We don't listen enough to the public to know exactly what maybe there are things that they're not even reporting on that the public would be interested in. Have we asked them? I do not know. I don't think so. So I think the only way to win back the trust of people is as we are doing our job of holding government accountable, we should also be seen to be holding ourselves accountable. If a newspaper makes a mistake, these days they apologize. But, generally there is no self-regulation mechanism for people to trust that, yes, when the media does this, there are actually repercussions. All you see are just apologies and sometimes get away with it. So maybe people don't know where to look.